Yo, what's going on, people? Vinny Cuz here. And so I've been asked, believe it or not, by like 4 or 5 people, what my thoughts are on the new CEO taking over for Lyft. And without further ado, David Risher is his name. He's got a pretty good little background on some of the stuff he's done, but I just wanted to kind of touch on a couple of the points that he spoke of in his interview. This is with Bloomberg Television. I'll put the link down below so you can watch the whole video.
Let's start chronologically. When did Logan and John come to you and say, hey, we have this idea, would you like?
If you don't know, Logan Green, John Zimmerman, creators of Lyft, they followed up right behind Uber. And you're going to hear here where, a lot of the low pricing race to the bottom technically is on them, but, they're going to spin it.
You like to lead our company?
It was, first of all, I would characterize it as a crazy idea, but we'll come back to that.
Why is it crazy? Because it's outside of your CV, what you've done in the past.
In a sense, but in another sense, it isn't. I was at Amazon, focused on the customer. I was at Microsoft, focused on competing. I built a nonprofit that gets 20 million kids reading with very limited resources. So
Trying to do quite a lot with very little.
that's the idea, yeah. But
So listen to what he just said there. He's got an extensive background on customer focus. And obviously the rider is the customer. He might actually come from the perspective that, and admit that drivers are not customers. Drivers are a part of the machine to make the customer, which is the rider, happy. Yes, they make money off of us by us providing the service, but we're not the customer. They didn't come out directly and say it, but that's what they're saying. Anyway.
the ones that introduced the whole concept of shared rides, they're the ones that introduced tipping for drivers and so forth. But I think they realized at a certain point it was time to pass the baton to somebody else.
Right.
They looked at my background and said, I think you're the guy.
Do you go into this sort of acknowledging that Lyft is kind of increasingly distant, smaller second player in rideshare now?
Well, I don't love the word increasingly, but I certainly do think it's number 2.
And
I don't have a problem with what he just said. Now, I've heard some other people I like, a lot of people I don't like. They all said the same thing. Bro, if you're not coming in to be number 1, what's the point? Because I'm going to tell you the point. You got to clean your own house first. If your house ain't clean, you can't possibly want to attack or go after your competition. You have to fix the problems within your own 4 walls before you can go after somebody else. That's business. Normally, when you see a new CEO or a change in leadership come into any business, it's because they got problems, right? They got problems. You just saw what happened with Disney. Disney used to have Bob Iger. They got rid of him. They came in this new guy. I forget his name. He screwed everything up. They got rid of him and brought Iger back, and now Iger's got to clean up the mess. That's what this guy's coming in to do. David Risher is coming in to clean up John Zimmer's and Logan Paul, y'all know what I mean. Logan Green's mess. That's it. That's his job. His job is to clean up the mess. Much like Dara came in to clean up the mess for Travis Kalanick. I mean, you can't worry about number 1 till you can provide yourself as number 2 in a solid fashion, if that makes sense to you. All right, here's some more.
Does it remain a rideshare business, or do you JV with other delivery platforms? Do you expand the business offering?
Yeah, important point here.
Yeah, so I'll tell you where my head is. I guess I reserve the right to change my mind, of course, because but look, I think our focus is rideshare, and I'll tell you why. The United States is going through a crisis where we've all been locked inside our houses, where we've all been locked outside of work, and now we're coming back. And I think
what he's referring to there is the riders. He ain't talking about drivers. I think maybe in this whole interview, and it's about nine and a half minutes long, he only mentioned drivers like 3 times, but he mentioned riders about 10 times. So he knows who his customer is. His customer is the rider. His customer is not us. So while we might take a back seat, I think this guy already knows that he's got to keep good drivers. Because if they start losing good drivers, if they continue the downward spiral, the race to the bottom, your good drivers are going to say, screw it, and they're going to go someplace else. Your upper class drivers, your basic drivers, your really good drivers, those that give a shit about their acceptance rating, that give a shit about their cancellation rating, that actually care about their overall driver rating, those people are going to go away. They're going to go away because the race to the bottom means you don't appreciate the effort that the drivers are putting in. And to this gentleman, I would say, while you need to focus on gaining market share back, getting your stock price back up, taking care of your riders and your investors, don't forget the driver, because the driver is what makes the whole thing go. Important thing to know there.
I think if you look at happy, well-lived lives, bringing people together is a really, really good idea. And I'll tell you what, if you try to also deliver pizzas and packages at the same time, it might be a good business model, we'll see. But I don't know that it's a great experience for passengers.
You're not ruling.
Again, he just said it, right? He's concerned and focused on the rider. He wants that rider to be feel like it's an experience. Well, that's what Uber started out as, right? Here's the irony in all this. Uber started out as a black car service. If you don't know, you need to know the history of the apps you're working for so you can understand how we are arrived at the point we are now, right? Uber was black car by an app. That was it. It wasn't until Lyft came along and made the race to the bottom, where they wanted to replace public transportation, buses, trains, things of that nature. The cabs just happen to be in the way, right? But when you really look at it, even though cabs took a hit, it wasn't the point. The point was Lyft wanted to replace public transportation. That was their original concept. That was their disruption. Uber wanted to go after top flight, top shelf clients. It's funny how this all comes full circle. Now he's replacing the guys that screwed it all up. I'm just saying.
Ruling it out. I have to ask.
Which?
Expanding beyond just pure play rideshare.
Not ruling it out, but really the focus is going to be on picking you up on time, matching price, making sure you get dropped off on time.
Customer
I
driven.
think what's so interesting about Lyft is people use Lyft. Strange thing to say, but I went to our audience and I said, look, the new CEO of Lyft's coming on the show. What should I ask him? And actually, the majority of people say, when is Lyft going to get outside of North America?
Now, people like the competition. And with this part, I agree with some other people. We need them both, right? You need Uber and Lyft. And you need to be able to have that competition. And I'm going to link the video up below, like I said earlier. You can go back and watch this whole video. It's really good to listen to. You need the competition to stabilize pricing. This guy wants to come in and be competitive with Uber on pricing. I don't know how that's going to affect us, because we all know at one point Uber's more expensive, and then another point Lyft's more expensive. But either way, the driver is the one taking the hardest hit. Any business, the first place everybody cuts in any business is their variable costs, and their variable costs are employees. Variable costs in this case is drivers. In order for these folks to increase their bottom line, to bring their earnings up, to bring their investors back, they have to lower costs, overall costs. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Rideshare cannot be profitable if it's going to be marketed to the masses, meaning the everyday people that need to get to work. This doesn't work. The business models don't work. And I know there'll be people that say, oh, it works. No, it doesn't. If a person's making $15 an hour, they go to work 8 hours. Their ride to work is probably going to be $15 to $20. Their ride home from work is going to be $15 to $20 rather. So they just work the first 2 hours just to pay for their Uber or their Lyft. That doesn't work. Like, it really doesn't work. So anyway, my thoughts on it is, you know what? We're going to have to wait and see what this guy does. I don't know. I have no clue. Nobody knows. But we're going to find out. Anyway, with that, that's my opinion. Don't let this bother you. Stay focused on what you're doing. And yeah, the best way to go is to focus on yourself. Just like Mr. David Risher has said, he's going to focus on Lyft. He's not going to focus on Uber. Peace out.